Today, I decided to randomly go on an adventure to Pennsylvania, specifically New Hope, Pennsylvania. It's this great little town that's on the border of New Jersey and Pennsylvania, and I used to go there all the time when I was a little kid with my family, but now that I've got my first bike and I've got this whole sense of freedom and adventure lust, I really want to go out there on my own and kind of explore the paths that my dad wouldn't have drove down or talk to the people my mom would have told me to stay away from and just really get my own little adventure out of this place that I already love. I ended up leaving around 12 o'clock and stopped at a small town on the way called Frenchtown. Frenchtown is kind of like New Hope, but a lot smaller, still with all the cute, artsy stores and, eccentric people there, and even the biker friendly community. And so, after walking down the downtown, going in some cool stores, and refueling, I got back on the road and headed to New Hope. And I'll say this, I have a 2011 Harley Davidson Sportster, and it held up really well. And I'm really starting to get a feel for going over 60 for a long while, as well as just general experience on the highway. And overall, I'm starting to really feel confident on the bike. Even if it is still my only second week of riding a motorcycle, it's funny, my girlfriend gave me this journal to document my life on this bus adventure that I was planning on going on. I thought about buying a school bus and renovating it into like a livable home, just like van life, and traveling all over the country and kind of being like a nomad of sorts. However, how I started to see things changed, and I honestly drifted away from it and turned to motorcycles. And honestly, I think I like this a lot better. I really think that I'm able to explore more and go more in depths to places that I don't think I would have been in depth with my bus. Speaking of motorcycles, New Hope is definitely a biker town. Every other vehicle is a big ass fucking Harley with no muffler on. Actually, this one particularly loud biker group rode down the street and car alarms went off, like literal car alarms went off from the vibrations of the sound and all that. It's just truly amazing to see. Anyways, I got to New Hope and rode around for a little bit before parking my bike in one of the many bike lanes on the street. Then I walked around for a while and went into a bunch of nearby stores. And New Hope has some really amazing and cool ass stores. From shops filled with haunted oddities or vintage clothes or even classy cigars, every store has its own personality for sure. And once I was done exploring the downtown and going in every other store, I decided to take a walk across the bridge and go from Pennsylvania to New Jersey in just a few minutes. And after I finished crossing the bridge, I found a nice place to sit down, look at some ducks, and I decided to try my hand at sketching the Delaware River Bridge, or at least that's what I think it's called. And I thought it was a really cool thing to sketch. And honestly, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not someone who really sketches often, but honestly, I find it really almost meditative and relaxing just to draw with no pressure. And I don't know, it's a nice touch in these journal entries. Then, after sketching the bridge, I started walking back to my bike to see if I could ride around and discover something cool nearby. However, it turns out I didn't even need to get to my bike to find something cool. A custom chopper was sitting just on the strip, begging to be loved. I have this huge thing with choppers. I just love the whole idea of building your bike, not buying it, and really just making what you have your own. Anyways, I started to think to myself, man, I really wish the owner was around so I could talk about the process that it took to build this thing. Because it's beautiful, and I've always wanted to build a chopper of my own. So I decided, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go nearby area, just kind of look around, see if anyone fits the bill to who would make this. And so as I go looking for the owner, I see this guy leaning on a bridge, smoking a cigarette, looking cool as hell, and I'm like, yeah, you could be the owner of that beauty. So I go over to him and I ask him, hey man, do you ride? And he goes like, what? Like a fucking bike? Like a motorcycle? I'm like, yeah, you seem like the type. He's like, nah, but I've rode the drums my whole life. And I was like, huh. Turns out this guy isn't the owner of the chopper, but what he is an adventurer. This fucking 50-year-old man named Kyle starts telling me about his life. He's telling me about all the adventures he went on as a kid and how he left California when he was 14 and hitchhiked across America to try and find a place to exist and live. And as he's telling me all of this, I'm infatuated and just listening to every single word. And he's re-saying all of his adventures across the land and how one day he just randomly got dropped off in New Hope on his way to New York and fell in love with it. He said he was about 17 at the time when he got here, just like me, with $5 to his name, and he found himself in this little perfect bubble. This place that was just perfect. A town of artists, real artists, man, as he puts it, and how it's changed. People changed. The world changed. And eventually, the town that he once knew was gone. The church that he would tell me all the kids used to hang out and sit on the steps of was bought out and turned into a restaurant. The house that he used to live in and the band that him and his friends played in together grew quiet. The music that once bellowed into the streets stopped. The town became for the rich and a tourist attraction to the public. He said it might have got quote unquote nicer, but it was better back in the day. He loved it. He said someone like me would have loved it too. We walked around the town for a while as he pointed out all the houses that he roofed and the places that him and his friends used to go to and call hangout spots. And as the sun started to set, we both looked at the sky, ending our conversations about gold panning, snakes, change, and life itself. We wandered down the rows of bikes that lined the streets and back to my bike, where he said he actually saw me ride into town, noticed my sissy bar, and really loved it. And as I began to finally pack up and get ready to part ways, he tells me that he has a story for me that'll really knock off my socks. Something truly amazing that he's decided, it's time to tell. And we both agree to sit down in New Hope again and actually make a video out of it. And so I think that'd be a really cool thing to do soon and really capture this guy's life and adventures and just him in a video. And with that, I fastened the last strap on my bike, and one fist bump later, I was riding off into the sunset, on my way home after my first adventure to New Hope. I learned many things on my adventure to New Hope, but something that really stood out to me was the idea and concepts of change. The change in places and people and society. During my conversations with Kyle, I grew almost reminiscent to see what the town would have looked like 30 years ago, when it was a town full of artists, as he called it, of people, of real people, when bikes weren't all big ass modern Harleys that were made for comfort above style, and when the hum of the engine was enough for people to ride with, not the music that they drown themselves with these days. When polyester and plastic was leather and metal. When the rascals that used to run around the streets had fun. Kyle misses the simpler times, when his little hut on the water used to cost him $6.50 a month. He called New Hope a bubble of sorts, one that he thought would never change. Now, with all of that said, New Hope is still a truly amazing place and beautiful town, and I'm not trying to discourage anyone from going there or tell you that it's bad. I love it, and I will be back, but to Kyle, it's no longer home. The bubble that he once knew had popped. The last 20 years, people changed, he said. It makes me wonder, when I finally find my bubble, my little perfect place, will it one day pop too? And how can I preserve it, if that's even possible anymore? How can I prevent the oncoming tide? Always remember what change can do. Be wary of it. And sometimes we should fight, regardless of what people say. Fight to keep what's ours ours, to keep the world how we like it. But then other times, it is better to accept the oncoming tide of unfamiliarity and make peace with your inability to stop an unstoppable force. Keep what you care about safe and close. Keep your bubble unpopped. I know this might sound like a big, incoherent mess, but this conversation with my new, unexpected friend Kyle got me thinking about how being in one place, at one time, is truly a beautiful and special thing. Even if it is just as simple as something in your downtown, that place, those people, as you know it, will never be the same. Appreciate the present and know that you may be able to go back to the same place in 20 years, but you will not find what you remember. The buildings may remain the same, the roofing tiles still intact, but nobody is there. That bubble, the past itself, is gone.